Alrighty, back on the gravity box again today. I'm hoping to actually have the frame done today so I can start working on the gear tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. But first things first, I gotta get this bow cut out and ready to go together, and I'm actually doing it different than what they did it from the factory. Because at the factory, what they did was they just cut one long stick and then bent it, which was probably part of the reason it failed, because they stretched this flange so much it probably created a weak spot right here. So what Dad suggested I do with it is actually cut it and make a miter joint and then just grind the point off so it looks like it's bent or been bent. And if I do it that way, it'll be stronger and you'll never be able to tell it's not bent if I do it right. So first things first, I gotta figure out how long my bottom sections have to be, because that's the critical one. And I actually had to put a porta power in here because I measured it across the top just to make sure what square was supposed to be, and it's 27 at the top and it was 26.5 across the bottom, so I got it. Dang it, it moved on me. So I got this pushed out to where the bottom's 27 so that I can measure across the whole thing. And basically I need about 31.25 in order to get the brake out past these pieces angle. So now that I have that, I need to take this bad boy and it's going to be like that. So my miter is going to be like that in order to get it up like this. So just so I don't screw it up, put a dot there so I know which side to do my measuring off of. Now I need to figure my angle to the best of my ability, seeing how this thing's kind of schmucked. That is awful darn close. And then basically when I weld it together, I'll just put a tack on the top of the joint so I can still bend it. And when I get everything tacked up in there, I'll take the ends and bend them where they need to be and then go in and weld it solid. But this will get me in the ballpark for cutting my miter. So we're looking at about a 32 degree angle. So divide that by 2, it's going to be 16, 15, 16. So basically I need to cut 16 degrees on the bottom part in 16 degrees off of the part going up at an angle, and that'll get me my 32 degrees total. So take this and readjust it. Actually, I think I did that backwards. Yeah, I need to make it need to make it 90 plus 16 so that I can use this for a straight edge. So 90, 100, 106. Now we're cooking.
This President's Day weekend, we're voting yes to fashion with up to 50% off store. Now through Sunday, say yes to Old Navy pants from $19 for a year and $15 for sale. Say yes to t-shirts from $5 and say yes to cozy sweaters and gorgeous dresses from just $15.
Okay, there's that. Aha, there we go. Now we're cooking with gas. And then come in here. Dadgummit. Okay, there's that mark. And then we take a straight edge and mark it across the top. And then I can measure off. Yes, damn it. Okay, that's at a half. So we go 31 1/4 plus a half is going to be 31 3/4 is going to get me my other side. And then mark that. And then we mark this angle opposite. Quit moving, dadgummit. And then there's that. And then the nice thing is I'll be able to, since this angle's already matching, use this and I'll have to cut one more miter for the other side. So I'm going to get that whacked out and go from there. Alright, I got all the pieces cut out, so now it's time to tack them so I can get it clamped up there and see what I'm working with. Taller than that. Alright, I gotta figure out a good way to clamp this. Who needs clamps when you got more Joe blocks and a magnet? Shit. Except when you move it with the pigtail on the welder. There we go. That's kind of nasty. This is part of what happens when you're welding new steel to old steel. It tends to make a few more BBs than normal. Looks like it's about time to be replacing this shield. There we go. One more for good measure. Alright, well, I ended up having to pop the spot welds on the bow so I can get everything situated up there the way I wanted it, which worked out fine because I ended up having to shorten them anyway, or shorten the angle pieces, and took the time to finish straightening this out. Just goes to show that sometimes when you need to straighten something out, it's not about how hard you hit it, it's about where you hit it. I don't know why I didn't think of it when I was doing it last weekend, but basically all I did was I took a torch. I can't touch it because it's still too hot, but I took a torch and heated right underneath the bend. Didn't heat the whole thing, just right there underneath the bend in short little sections, and then took a 3-pound sledgehammer and a piece of aluminum rod and beat on it, and it came out. I mean, it ain't by no means perfect, but you have to look hard to tell, and really the only spot I couldn't get was right here in the corner. But I think when I get that angle welded up in there and get it clamped on, or clamped before I weld it, that'll help it too. So that straightened out. I had to do a little bit of straightening on this corner because it was puckered in, but that didn't take a whole lot. I got the lower piece clamped in there where I want it. I'll have to, I'm not going to weld it to the frame yet. I just want to get the angle pieces up in there and get it reattached so I can pull it down, weld it solid, and then grind it off. and then I'll stick it back up in there, and I'll have to tack it to these angles first so that I can get a hold of these angles and pull them out flush where they need to be, and then weld the whole thing. And I gotta fix that crack before I weld it all together too. But I'm going to go in and eat some lunch while I'm letting these corners cool back down so I can actually touch them, and we'll go from there. Okay, tacking take 2. See if I can't make something happen this time. Shit. Quit doing that crap. Unfortunately, since it's a stupid angle, there's no real good way to clamp it. Which is not a big deal when you're doing it flat on the ground, but when you're doing it like this, it's kind of a big deal. There. Now I want to that thing needs to twist just a hair. Like, we got any regular? Where are they at? Okay. Where dash? Where the heck did the regular vice grip do? Guess we're gonna use these. That's gonna twist just a little bit. There we go. Oh, I bet Dad's got him down in the barn. He's been working on the 1800. Little electrical problem developed on it. Trick is not to weld it to this so I can't get it back apart. I have to lose the glasses for this one. Okay, bows all tacked together. So get it off. And that's ready to be all welded back together. Alright, got it all welded together. And the only welds I ground off were the ones on the outer face. I left the ones there, and I left the ones on the front and the back. Because if you grind them off, it reduces the strength. But the next step is going to be to figure my curve which isn't actually going to end up being that much. That's really all I got to take off to make it look like it's bent. Not a whole lot. And I ain't gonna get it perfect just because it doesn't need to be perfect. Damn it. Stay hooked on there. I think I'm probably just going to go ahead and use the air grinder for this because it's a little more easier to control. Shazam. Slap some paint on it. You'd have to look real close. Do this kind of crap. Clamps. You can never have too many of them. Only takes 6 to get this job done. So I got everything as square as I can possibly get it. So I guess it's time to go ahead and get that all tacked together. Starting to look like a box again. Alright, new bows tacked in. I got these straightened out. Unfortunately, this one's about as good as it's going to get because of 2 reasons. One, when the initial hit, or when it took the initial hit and got bent, it actually stretched right here. It's kind of might be hard to tell on the camera, but there's a thin spot right there where it was stretched, and then it got wrinkled there. So basically, there's too much metal to put back where it belongs, so there's always going to be that little ripple in it. shy of cutting this piece off, straightening it and re-welding it, which it's really just a cosmetic thing and you're never going to really notice it anyway. So those two are straightened back out flat, and the next step's going to be getting it off the old runners and putting the new runners on and getting it squared up. Dad's down in the barn right now getting the box tube, and he's going to cut that, or get that cut up, or cut, while I am getting the wood runners off of it. And we kind of changed the plan just a little bit. Originally I was going to get the frame done, or get the frame all tacked together, take it over, get it blasted, bring it back, shoot primer on it so that the rails and everything had paint between it and the stainless. But now, so I can get everything all welded together in time, we're gonna wire brush this, shoot it with paint, get the tin on, get everything welded solid, and then take the whole thing over once the stainless is on there, and we will that's got it. I think it's in the door. Yep, it's in the door. And then we will take the whole thing over upside down, have him blast the whole thing, and that way it will, when he blasts it, it'll etch the bottom of the stainless, so the paint's got something to stick to as well. So yeah, new plan. But there ain't no way in hell these bolts are gonna spin off, so we're just gonna take the gas axe and turn them into liquid metal. And I also decided, since we're welding it to them box beams, that we're not gonna bother putting the pads back on, and that long one's broke in two places anyway, so we're just going to weld it right solid to the box tube, which is what we're going to do originally, so it kind of negates the purpose of having them pads there. And we're also going to take some UHMW plastic and make pads to go between the box tube and the frame so it doesn't sound all pingy. Alright, now what we're going to do is I got to lay out holes in each of the four corners to put some 3/8 bolts in to bolt the UHMW plastic to the bottom side of the frame rails. And then kinny corners from each other, I got to put 2 holes on either side. And we're not actually going to bolt the rails to the frame since it's going to be so stiff. And when I'm going to put 2 holes in either side, kitty corner from each other, and we're just going to loop a chain around the gear and leave it hang loose. And then on either side of the stakes here, I'm going to weld angle iron, and basically that angle is going to be what keeps the gear from trying to rack if you get into soft ground or anything. So, I already did my measuring, so I just got to get this laid out. $14 3/8 off the end of the center of the axle. And then this is what I got a good line to work off of. And then I need to go we're going so 3, 1. Yeah, so I need 1. So I need to go 1 inch, 1, 2, and inch and a half. Yeah, if I go 1 and 3 or 2 3/4 either way, so I could put one. We're going 6 inches long on the UHMW, and if I go 1 and 5, it's going to put them bolt heads awful close to the frame. So if I go 3/4 and 5 1/4, that'll be mo better. So let's take this off here. So put 3, come in 3/4, 5 1/4, and go through and do that on all of them. So you guys are getting the gist here, so I'm gonna go get all them holes laid out and go from there. Alright, I got the holes laid out and center punched. Now, a Bridgeport is awesome until you start dealing with chunks of steel that are 10 foot long, then it's a little bit ridiculous. So, we could hand drill them holes, or mag base drill. Basically mini Bridgeport. And they are freaking awesome. Come on out, there we go. So, get it lined up with the hole, like so. And then, now, she ain't going nowhere. the nice thing about doing it this way is don't move it, and you're still right dead nut center over the hole, so you can run a tap right in there. It does take a little bit more chucking, but it also means you don't break the tap. I want to do it like that. And voila, hole. Doesn't look so bad when it's centered on there. Well, wrapping it up here for today. Dad started helping and everything kind of started moving pretty quick, so I had trouble getting video, but we got the beams all put together, angles are welded on, all the holes are drilled. I got 2 there in that corner and 2 in that corner for the chain that we're going to put on there. Frame is tacked all the way around down to the tube. See, what else did I skip over? Other than a lot of pulling and straightening, which actually didn't take nearly as much as we thought, because once I got the frame off of those 4x6s, the whole thing just kind of went and almost fell right where it belonged. We had to pull on this just a skish to get it where it belonged. Had to pull. This was the only corner we really had to fight. We had to push on that pretty hard to get it where it belonged, but the other 3 corners went pretty good. And then Dad was measuring to figure out what all we had to do to get everything square, and we found out that this post right here wasn't welded right from the factory, and it actually needed to move over a 1/2 inch. And it had this post pulled over, which I got that cut loose, and it moved where it belonged. So we got to pull this over and weld it back in. And then since I had to get the plasma cutter out to fix that, I went ahead and got these cut loose so I can go ahead and get this straightened out, because I knew if I didn't it was going to bug me, so I figured I'd just do it. And then get those welded back together. And then zip the 4 corners in solid. We're going to leave everything in the center just tacked until we go to start fitting tin. And then we'll go and weld everything solid. But the destruction should be all done after today, and we're just focusing on the construction, so Shouldn't be too long in the morning getting all the welding finished up, and then you can pull the box off, set it aside, and start working on the steering on the gear, because it's whooped. But that's where she sits right now. Oh, the other thing we're going to do, since the most likely reason that these pieces of angle busted off to begin with, and they busted right even with, or almost even with the frame, but the most likely reason is because there's so much weight hanging out on this side of the box that it was cantilevering, and it just snapped it right there after years of bouncing. So what we're going to do is take two pieces of that angle right there and go from here and weld a strut in that'll put weight right on, or that'll transfer the weight right down to the center of the beam and hopefully get some of the weight off of here. So that's not something they did from the factory, but that's what we're going to do to make sure that whatever jacked this thing up doesn't jack it up again. And between me and however many people are going to end up watching this video, we're the only ones going to know about it. So, but that's where she stands as of tonight. Starting to look like something again. So I guess that does it for this one. We will catch you guys on the next one.